In the midst of a Midwest winter, GRIDLIFE drivers need to scratch the persistent itch of competition. With cars tucked into garages while the polar blast rips across the region, they turn to iRacing to stretch their virtual legs. For the first time in several seasons, we return to multi-class racing in the GRIDLIFE iRacers League, and for the first round of this season, to the granddaddy of them all, the World Center of Racing in Daytona. It's an almost religious visit each January, and tonight we'll head to Road Racing Church for a 30-minute sermon of speed. And Pastor Finian DeCuna sits alongside me tonight for this 30-minute adventure. After qualifying, this is a really quick race, Finian, but two classes, Porsche 992 Cup cars and GT4s. Both are fast, both are fun, and there's almost 50 people registered tonight. Should be a lot of fun.
Should be a lot of fun, and I can tell you that there's probably people that are already probably sick of Daytona practicing here for the upcoming Daytona 24 this weekend. But if anything, that means that these drivers are going to be well-versed, well-practiced here, and ready to get up to speed. We got the Porsche 992 Cup car as well as GT4 machinery that's going to get ready to rock around here. Qualifying already out here on the track, and like you mentioned, you got 50 people in the server already out there getting their times down.
So we're going to head down to the racetrack here in just a moment's time, and welcome back if you're joining us on twitch.tv/GridLifeOfficial. It's been a little while since we've had some esports on here, so glad to be back with you. Two categories, as we mentioned, both the 992 Cup category and the GT4 class, each with their own unique caveats. The Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car isn't really a GT3 car at all. In fact, it doesn't have any traction control, doesn't have any ABS, but it does have a lot of power and some more downforce in comparison to the GT4. So some of the drivers that we're familiar with seeing here in the GRIDLIFE iRacer Series have elected for this. Ryan Kristoff is here. Austin Cobb is in this category. DJ Alessandrini should be in this class. Ido Waxman and so many more that you're familiar with. And a lot of others, most of the field, in fact, has chosen that GT4 class, Finian, which affords you a bit less power, a bit less downforce, but also gains you traction control and ABS.
Yeah, I was going to say, and a decent mix of cars in that class. Majority, though, enjoying the Mercedes-AMG GT4s. There are quite a few of those cars out there, but effectively a car, at least one car from every single manufacturer. So I'm curious to see how the parity works out between all those cars. There's one of those cars, Max Lupfer, in the 35 working around through the kink.
Yeah, Lupfer, a past GRIDLIFE Touring Cup competitor. I'm sure he'll be back joining us at some point. But working his way in one of those Mercedes-AMG GT4s, as you pointed out, it's been the popular car tonight. Azmat Mohammed for the Turn-In Concepts team goes to the top. Anthony Montello in a McLaren jumps to the top, an Illinois native, with the Lazy Rocket car running in second right now in class.
Yeah, seeing a couple of those cars, also quite a few Porsche Cayman 718s, GT4s around here, as Montello's up there second on the board as the first wave of drivers completing qualifying here, and a lot of GT4 cars, I think almost 40 in that class, so it's going to be a very big category of drivers to work through. And if you're going to be starting from the back of this field, you're going to have a lot of cars you can pass, and 30 minutes is going to feel way too short.
It is going to feel like a very short race, and that's kind of by design. In the past, we've done very quick heat race style events, but with that comes a lot of chaos that sometimes is undesirable. So splitting this out into just one slightly longer race is a good way to kind of keep everyone's emotions in check, especially on the starts of races. You don't get multiple starts, you're just going to get one go at this. DJ Alessandrini just a little while ago was running in the DC region's SCCA's Virtual Racing League in F4 cars. He's jumped right into the tin top Porsche and is working his way around track. Does not yet have a representative lap, but I think that's about to change here in just a moment as he comes across the stripe, or down to the backstretch, I should say. We'll see what he's got when he gets around to the stripe.
Heading through the bus stop, effectively now the Le Mans chicane after been renamed to reflect the convergence of rule sets between both IMSA and the WEC. So DJ now flying through NASCAR 3 and 4 and onto the front stretch. See if his time is going to be quicker than his current time. He's going 27th overall. I'm sure he's going to be hoping for a little bit higher, especially closer in class, and we expect him to be closer across the line for him. A 145.6 to the top for DJ Alessandrini.
Not to be denied, Raul Uriarte in the number 41 to the top in GT4. That's a very strong lap there. Matt Busby's here tonight in the number 18 Mercedes. Kevin Wendt is here, Falcon Club TR competitor. Love this Porsche because it actually shares a lot at first glance, this livery makes it look a lot like his Honda CRX, which shares this livery in the real world in his Falcon Club TR car. I mean, you mentioned Max Lupfer earlier. Philip Zhu is here in the number 32, another GRIDLIFE Street Class competitor. And most of the field here, I could go down the entire list, but most of the field here is a GRIDLIFE competitor in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I'm looking here. I think I got 51 in total at the moment. Ready to qualify here. Number 32, Philip Ju, still working around for his lap. This is his first time lap. I don't know if he's going to have enough time for a second. I don't think so. So he's only time lap.
Yeah, I guess because it's not a heat race though, but it is single car, so you're not going to get the two extra minutes to finish qualifying. Here's Alex Artea running in the Porsche 911 tonight. He's got experience running BMWs in GRIDLIFE Street GT category, and he also, I don't think, is going to complete a lap on, because this is still his warm-up here.
Yeah, he's going to get a warm-up lap, and he's not going to get a time lap, unfortunately. And I'm hoping for his sake we're going to be gridding by class. If not, he's going to have a lot of work to do for tonight starting behind the GT4s.
Yeah, that will be a busy evening for sure. Ido Waxman, Street GT champion from last season in his Corvette C6. Going to drop onto the apron, running third at the moment in the Porsche 992 category. A lot of familiar faces up in the front. Kevin Zhu also came from that SCCA event not too long ago. Let's see, Matt Busby on track. I think he's going to be able to complete this lap.
As well as he makes it through the chicane without getting it off track. Very easy to do so after I found that out in the roar. I was trying my best not to, but I feel like it's become more sensitive, those off tracks through that particular part of the track, but he's going to get back on the oval. Look pretty clean. If he can just make it back in time, he's got over a minute to do so.
Here's a quick look here at the track map that we were just navigating there with Busby. Down at turns 10 and 11, that's the bus stop. They call that the Le Mans chicane now here at Daytona, but this is a 13-corner Roval configuration that's held the 24 Hours of Daytona for decades now. Busby had a 2:11.815, not really a representative lap, and he will not get to run another. But there's a look at the racetrack just from high level as we go back down to finish up qualifying here. Alex Artea is going to be able to complete this lap, but it's just a warm-up, so no time on the board for him. Darian Taggart, in a familiar-looking number 94, is working his way through 22nd spot right now and is up 1.2 seconds on his best lap.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't realize Honda made a GT4 car.
Yeah.
It's still a beautiful paint scheme out there in Cayman. Working through the backstretch, he's getting some extra time in. 10 seconds left for qualifying here as most of the field has got a time in.
And Taggart will not be able to complete this lap, and he'll drop down to the apron. I think he knows his time is over, and qualifying here is complete, and it's Raul Iriardi and DJ Alessandrini on poles in their respective categories. 30 minutes is about 17 laps worth of racing here, Finian, so I think the big key, especially in that GT4 field, is to finish first. You must first finish, the old racing adage. You just can't forget about it in the simulated context here.
Oh yeah, and also looking here, and it does look like the Cup cars that weren't able to get a time in, they're going to be starting in the middle of the GT4 field, so that's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on for us because they got a lot of traffic to work through. Yeah,
we're going to give graphics here a little bit of a reboot before we launch here this evening from Daytona International Speedway. And like I said, once we go racing, it's 30 minutes. The biggest challenge here, other than surviving the first turn, which is challenging in its own right, Finney, the other big challenge you have to consider here are the off-tracks and the slowdowns, especially at the exit of that Le Mans chicane. It's really easy to get yourself caught up there and get a slowdown penalty that costs you your entire race.
We'll say, fortunately for these drivers, are just checking the server settings. Does look like there's going to be no penalty for having off track, so that's not something that these guys have to worry about. But like you mentioned, those the cut track penalties, the slowdowns, that's really what's going to kill you, especially in that bus stop. You have to give up so much time on the oval section. You're going to give up, it's telling you to give up a second, you're going to lose 3 or 4 by the time you get to turn 1.
Yeah, and that's so painful because 4 seconds here at a 30-minute race is so much time to have to give up, and you might not even get a chance to earn that back. Staying in the draft is also another key to success here tonight as well, but that'll all get discussed as we get the green flag here in just a few minutes' time. As far as the field split, we've got 10 of those Porsches gridded up towards the front, and then an additional 5, so 15 Porsche, 15 Porsches, and then the rest of the field, 36 GT4 cars. That is quite the field, Finian.
Yeah, it's a really, really huge field of cars here ready to get underway here, all anticipating, and it looks like we're finally going to get underway for the pace lap on the back straightaway.
just about to start rolling here as we're waiting for the last drivers to grid. Engine's revving, and the Porsche pace car is going to pull away. No headlights on the pace car. That's a penalty, I think, as the rest of the field will begin rolling in behind. You don't get a lot of time to heat up your tires either. Here's a look at the track temp. It is cool and chilly down here in Florida. 61 degrees in the air, 64 on the racetrack.
I wish it was 64 around where I am.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm sure for you too.
Like I said, polar vortex. But that means that the grip level, especially here because it's nighttime, is going to be about as optimal as you could hope it could be. It's not like it's going to be 150 degrees and cooking tires.
Yeah, but this driver's going to love that extra cool temperature to work with, and that's really what, again, when it comes to the 24, you typically put your faster drivers in the nighttime because that's where you really want to maximize the fastest drivers when it's nice and grippy and you can really get some hot laps down. For these guys, they got 30 minutes to do so here as you got a split in the classes here. The Porsche Cup car is going to come down to green here.
And a little bit of a gap back to Alessandrini, who's on pole for this race. So there's your Porsche field. And then in behind them, you see way off in the distance coming out of 4 is going to be Raul Iriardi with the rest of the GT4 field in tow. Coming up to the start line, though, to kick things off here, the GRIDLIFE iRacers Sports Car Championship, visiting tracks from all over the world, starts tonight at the World Center of Racing here at Daytona. Green flag, and we're racing in the GRIDLIFE iRacers series here at Daytona. Alessandrini is off to a frantic start, clears Cobb, Waxman, and Moore into turn 1.
As you see, they're all going to fan out, use up as much racetrack as possible here. They're on through, and here comes the GT4 field. They're racing off. They actually started in the middle of 3 and 4, so they're already up to speed, flying here into turn 1.
Yeah, that's Raul Iriardi in the white, black, and orange McLaren. At the front of the field, spin, mid-pack. It's going to be Will Salisbury, and I think another BMW got looped around there. That is Salisbury, I believe, as everyone else will have to get back rolling. Other than the one spin, we got through turn 1 okay.
Yeah, pretty okay indeed. Still fanning out, still getting themselves sorted out here through the International Horseshoe for the first time for the GT4s. Meanwhile, the Porsche Cup cars are coming out of the West Horseshoe and back onto the Oval.
It's going to be a very busy time here in the production desk to keep up with everything tonight. Look at this push there. Why Jaden Burke and Michael Montello fighting back there. But you mentioned the Porsches climbing up onto the banking for the first time and accelerating now north of 150 miles an hour. We'll see if the draft can keep Cobb in close proximity, but here comes Zoo on Waxman.
Has to back out, just got too much of a run, nowhere to really go. Was trying to look to the right-hand side, but decided to play in behind because you get out of that slipstream you use quite a bit, and now into the bus stop chicane for the first time this race.
Zoo working his way through.
Waxman, poor entry, here he comes taking advantage on the exit.
Now to driver's right, but he doesn't have a run nor a push to help him through, so Waxman throws the defense on him here. And to the outside.
Whoa. And off they will go. Ooh, meanwhile, GT4 is getting spicy. Thomas Latham, Andy Focal, side by side through the chicane, and off they'll go back onto the NASCAR track. And here comes 3 wide. Hello,
Andrew
the 31
Lanning.
Andrew Lanning going to come through the middle and try to take 2 for 1.
And penalty for the leader. Raul Iriardi cut the chicane and had to give up a spot. That will gift the lead to Azmaf Muhammad. And that's one of the things we documented pre-race is you don't want to get a penalty in that section of the racetrack, especially on the opening lap. It is so costly there.
Jay DeVries a little bit off the pace. I think went a little bit wide in turn 1. He lost the spot. Richard Sawicki going to take over 5th place. Going back to GT4 into turn 1. Landing still not able to get by Lathrop. And then behind Raul Iriardi, the pole sitter in that McLaren just up ahead. And look at how clustered these guys are still after a lap.
Yeah, Darian Taggart, Zach Rubin, Adam Kobach, Chris Murray, and more all piling in there. There's Taggart in that yellow Porsche. And just behind, there's Ryan Mukherjee in the middle of everything there. That's that number 12, that red Milwaukee Mercedes, and he went for a little slide at the exit of the horseshoe.
Struggling to get down the power. Michael Montello in that Porsche came in, going to try to take advantage. He will get on through. Beautiful Daytona USA throwback there. Beautiful paint scheme.
Watch Vocal dive up the inside. That's that purple turn-in concepts car. He'll grab a spot. And even behind them, Thomas Moss in the 25, GRIDLIFE Touring Cup competitor, and lock up on the brakes for, I think that's the 48 of Jaden Burke in the purple Mercedes. They'll clear up onto the banking once more and do some more side-by-side. All out front, though, it's Alessandrini and Austin Cobb leading the way.
I was going to say, their show, they got 2.5 second lead back to Axman. And here comes Cobb with a big run. Does he do anything with it? There he goes. Drivers right, side by side on the front straightaway for the lead.
Here comes Cobb, and across the stripe. That was very tight. Cobb's got the wrong side of the road here to complete this pass into turn one. DJ stays defensive.
13 thousandths of a second at the line between these two. So very close quarters, as you can see in the background. Sun's starting to come up here at Daytona with about a 6:30 start in sim.
Yeah, sunrise race at Daytona. You don't see that all that often. Austin Minnick, a new name I don't believe we've seen here in the GRIDLIFE iRacers series before. Right behind Jonathan Crane, there's Ryan Kristoff around the outside there at the Horseshoe. And I think that's Jay DeVries on the inside of the 96.
Yeah, looks like he'll get on by, looking at Michael Montel. Then a little bit further back. Hello, this is a bit of a battle going on here.
On board with Thomas Moss, chases this pack here into turn one. That's the 48 to Jaden Burke on the outside. Oh, Peter Zhang gets turned.
Oh, and more contact. And Peter Zhang involved in the lap one, turn one incident as well. So he's having a horrible start to this race.
Yeah, he had such a good round the last couple. Oh, more trouble just ahead of them. Thomas Pendergrass stuck around.
I think actually he was involved in the initial contact heading into turn one.
And Austin Minnick just went for a loop way off of the distance. You saw it at the top of the camera shot there. He will spin and continue. As the corner
incidents here, as drivers still getting back up to speed.
This 30 minutes is going to be packed full of action, so don't look away. Here's Crane on Kristoff for 8th down here into the inner loop. This is such a fun section of racetrack, but you have to nail it, and it's very narrow.
Oh, and Crane did not nail it at all. Artea is still trying to come up in the background. Actually, Artea, I'm surprised you even see him here with this field. Remember, he started back with the rest of the GT4 cars, if I'm not mistaken. Well, actually, he was allowed to catch back up to the leaders to come join them. I'm surprised to see him here so quickly. As you look further back now, battle for third in GT4. Thomas Lathrop riding on board with him.
Yeah, this is a great scrap here. Raul Iriarty again, the pole sitter for this race, tossed it away on the opening lap right here. And now he's back 1.8 seconds. They've documented how important it would be to avoid a penalty there. But now he's got Lathrop pushing him. And Andrew Lanning right there as well in that white and green Mercedes-AMG.
Oh, we're at Daytona, giving them the bump draft here. They do almost have to make it 3 wide, but they're trying to work around that McLaren on the outside here, heading into turn one. Iriarty, I'm curious to see what he's going to do. He's going to try to outbrake these two on the inside. He's going to try. He's going to throw it deep.
Oh, too deep. And it gets turned off the nose of Lathrop there. Just dove in too hard, too far, and came across the nose of the other cars he was racing against. Yeah, slid across the racetrack. Had his left side half that he didn't quite use up, unfortunately, and he'll drop down to 10th, and now has Ryan Mukherjee putting pressure on him. Ryan Carwile, the BMW, chasing this pair. McLaren versus Mercedes-AMG.
That worked out great for Andrew Lanning, who now has a clear shot to try to get up to the leaders, Asmat Muhammad and Anthony Montello, in the lead of the class.
And after that brief exchange for the lead between Alessandrini and Cobb has fallen about 2.9 seconds behind. The battle remains here in the GT4 category for the most part. A bit deeper in this category, here's Cal Fortner, who actually runs a Mercedes-AMG in the real world in GRIDLIFE's street modified category. But he's missing some body work, and I don't think he's got time to go borrow it from his race car.
I mean, if there's anything you want to lose, it's that rear bumper. I'd say it's probably least important because it's taking the wind away. Of course, you have the diffuser on there, so you don't want to damage that. But out of all things, could be a lot worse.
Waxman on Zoo down here at turn one, and that's going to be wide.
He's going to overshoot the corner, and Kevin Zoo's going to take that spot right on back.
Yeah, just got in there too hot. No ABS in these 911, 992 Cup cars, so if you get in too hot, you're at the mercy of your own right foot slowing the thing down. And he shot straight, did a good job collecting it because you can easily lock the car up and back it into the fence down there. So managed to keep the car driving straight. Here's Franz Hansen as well. We've seen him, I think, in the DC Region SCCA virtual racing league, and he's continuing to run with this car here in GRIDLIFE now.
And running pretty well at the moment. He's currently 5th in class, a couple seconds back from Axman and Kevin Zhu. And if they continue to brawl, he might be up in that battle, but he's got Richard Sawicki still in behind him in the 528.
Battle here for P5. Up for the lead in GT4. We haven't touched on this in a bit. It's still Asmat Muhammad, but Anthony Montello is lingering behind. And I'd give the strength of the McLaren the straightaway. I think is where that car is really advantageous. It actually has a 7-speed gearbox. I'm not sure if that's represented here in iRacing, but it does in the real world, and that has been a significant advantage for this car at this track in the past. But no one is going to accuse the Mercedes of being slow, so Asbach's got a good toolkit under him as well.
Yeah, it looks like they only got 6 gears here in the sim. Double checking that when Montello is on the straightaway, but even though he's got 6 gears, like you mentioned, that still with the way the BOP ends up, that McLaren has quite a bit of straightaway speed.
It might have 7 in the sim, but I just don't think he'd ever use it. It's effectively an overdrive gear, and it actually, as Tom O'Gorman has told me in the past, I think this is generally true, that McLaren is the most street car of the GT4 cars in iRacing. Whereas the Mercedes-AMG carries a lot of technology over from the GT3 car, which is very much not street-oriented. The McLaren effectively is a street car turned into a GT4 car rather than a race car that is, represents a street car. They all have got race car parts on it, but I think the McLaren, the gearbox is pretty much the same thing you're going to find on the street car as well.
I mean, you're not too surprised at that. I would say the McLaren now naturally is one of the more sporty cars as Ortega goes around in 9th place. It's coming out of the International Horseshoe.
Too much throttle and not enough grip available. So that will cost him some time. And a little bit deeper in the field, Thomas Lathrop and Ro Uriarty come back together. Remember, they collided down here at turn 1 a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, hopefully no hard feelings between these two. We'll see if that resumes here. They're now battling for 9th place. So they're not too terribly far down the order. They can gather things back up. They can still make a charge to the front. 20 minutes remaining in this race.
Well, they've recovered pretty nicely, all things considered. But I don't think Raul's quite got the pace to get by Thomas at the moment. And back up for 5th place, Franz Hansen and Richard Sawicki there in that beautiful Gulf livery Porsche in tow here for P5.
Almost looks like a Borderlands-style paint scheme with the hard black lines around the car. Very beautiful paint scheme. We don't really see stuff like that too often, but beautiful car. Trying to see if we can get it inside the top 5.
There is one paint scheme I like better on a Porsche than this one, and it is the Coca-Cola livery that it had on the GT Le Mans car at Road Atlanta a couple of years ago. This is for 3rd again, Waxman and Zhu. And this is very tight. Both cars foraging for grip on the braking zone down there at 1, and Kevin Zhu's got it.
These two, effectively, I think they've given up on trying to see if they can catch Austin Cobb. They've been really focused on battling with one another and trying to get for that final spot on the podium.
Zhu's a little wide down there at the Horseshoe, and Waxman, he's going to slip.
Oh, no.
And
let's see if he can get it back in gear and recover. He's going to get passed by Hansen and Sawicki, and Ryan Christoph also going to sail on past in the 46.
Cost him quite a bit of time, and we've seen that happen a couple of times with the Porsches tonight. I almost wonder if the GT3 cars everyone's been practicing for the 24 with are throwing these drivers off when they don't have traction control. They can't just pound it to the floor. Now, it is a Porsche. It's got a lot of weight over the rear axle, but not enough to just plant your foot wherever and whenever you'd like, especially on the flat corner exits here at Daytona.
Looking for a little bit further up from over just at Christopher Murray and Zach Rubin fighting for position. Murray on the outside, Rubin on the inside. That Porsche came in and will get on through. Ryan Christoph, I think, has just had an incident exiting the oval. Yeah,
or entering the oval, rather, as he came out of corner here, just runs wide up onto the rumbles, and another spin. Which, if you're going to compare skill levels between these two cars, that Porsche requires a bit more of an undertaking as far as driver skill is concerned, as Jonathan Crane goes for his spin.
Yeah,
they are not
really
easy cars to
struggle now.
Yeah.
And he will save it, didn't hit anything, but will lose quite a bit of time. So Christoph, who just had his own spin, will get on by as we look further down the order. In GT4, it's still a train of cars, all nose to tail with one another. Ryan Carwell looking at him, highest BMW in that class.
Not a lot of Beamers represented here tonight. It has not been a popular car.
There are 3. And one already retired, so there's 2 left.
There's over 30 GT4 cars here tonight. It just wasn't popular from the outset. Didn't have the sharpness in the nose that I think everyone was looking for in GT4s, especially when it was only compared to the Porsche. Now that there's a few other options, we also don't see a lot of Aston Martins here tonight. I wonder why that is. But the Mercedes seems to be the popular choice, as we ride on board with one with Jaden Burke.
Jaden Burke got a great run out of the bus stop here. Going to try to take it on the oval so he can sail on by Ryan Carwell. Carwell trying to hang on to that 12th place spot. He started in 16th. Jaden Burke started in 14th. And here comes that Mercedes. Going to give a bit of a bump draft down out of turn 4. NASCAR turn 4.
Two persistent GRIDLIFE partners on board these cars as well, both Valvoline and Falcon. So I guess props for the photo op there, guys.
Totally planned.
Yeah. Back to, well, these guys drive off into turn 1. Keeping one eye on Iriarty and Lathrop battle for 9th, but didn't reignite like I expected it would. Here is Matt Busby. He missed the memo about NOS Energy. He's got the Red Bull car on tonight, but he's going to let Cal Fortner go by, and Will Salisbury in 77 just ahead in one of those other BMWs he pointed out.
Yeah, Salisbury actually a decent recovery for him. Remember, he saw him spun around. He got passed by nearly everyone on the opening lap. He's back up to 17.
Back on Cal Fortner's ride, but a little deep there.
Oh.
And that will let Busby sweep on through. Thomas Moss, another Mercedes AMG, tucked in behind this battle of 3 here.
Side-by-side battle here. It's going to be side-by-side heading through the kink towards the west horseshoe. Still side-by-side. Fortner going to try to see if he can throw it up the inside. Can he get it low down in time? He will. He'll get past the 18 of Busby.
And Busby now helping operate Thunder Hill Raceway Park and missing some of the hills that Thunder Hill would have. He knows his way around flat 2. Get back up onto the banking in tow behind Fortner and ahead of Thomas Moss. No changes and no battles immediately in the Porsche Cup group at the moment, but keeping our eyes on Ruben and Chris Murray here for 6th. Ruben goes high. Murray looks low.
I think he's got to slow down.
Sure does.
Ruben.
And this is how close this can be.
Oh, that wasn't that close. Right there. Yeah, that was a little bit more obvious. Still having to give up time. Thomas Lathrop are going to go by him into 8th place. I think Rolly Riardi will also get on by the 11, and this is what we're talking about, how much time he kills, especially when you're in such a close battle and such a close back like this. He just gave up about 5 spots.
Yeah, for all Lathrop has been through tonight, he's running where he started after about half this race has elapsed, and he's got a great view here of Chris Murray and Michael Montello's scrap for 6th.
He will get on by. As you see the beautiful sunrise in the distance.
It's coming up, isn't it? You have a view of that anywhere?
Front stretch. I try to get. Yeah.
Oh, fail.
That's more for when it rises up later. I don't think we'll have enough time to get to it. But
this is still quite the train down here at the horseshoe. And the lead in GT4 is still pretty tight. 4/10 of a second, and Anthony Montello absolutely knows what to do in this position, and I think he's lingering close enough to have a shot at this win in 13 minutes, and Andrew Lanning's not far behind either, 7/10 back from these two.
I was going to say it was effectively a 3-horse race. Asmeth Muhammad, Anthony Montello, Andrew Lanning. You're top 3, and they got a decent cushion, around 3.5 seconds back to Darian Taggart in 4th. So effectively, unless something happens between these 3, it's between them and Lanning. A great run through the bus stop. Here comes Montello on another great run. We'll go to the inside, Asmeth Muhammad.
He will take that. I wasn't wondering if he was going to take the opportunity, but when the leader makes a mistake that big, you kind of have to take advantage of it. Meanwhile, brother Michael has got trouble down there at the bus stop.
And after we saw him do a great switch back in turn 1, he's around out of the bus stop.
And the car was already destabilized there. Swung the car back to the right to hopefully not cut the course, and ended up spinning out. All the while, battle for second is fiercely on here. Lanning, for the lead. Lanning goes through.
Got a great run and kept it going, and now he is your new leader out of turn 1.
Wow, that didn't waste any time there.
He did not. He got a great slipstream on both the 2 and the 268 of Montello. And kept it going. He's around. Now Montello and Muhammad, we'll see if they're going to try to work together to catch back up to Lanning, or will be battling with themselves.
A little bit deeper in the field. John Sirota in the number 38. That's a McLaren. Running behind Busby here. Battle for 18th place. You'd be remiss if you forgot about the Porsche Cup category. They have not had anything really fire off lately, but Austin Minnick and Alex Ortega closing in on each other here for 10th in class.
Yeah, Minnick little bit of a poor run out of the bus stop chicane. But yeah, I think a lot of the battles ended up separating because we saw a lot of our front runners have some issues here and there, guys spinning out. And again, that's just due to the nature of how relatively difficult this car is to drive compared to the GT4 cars.
They are 45 seconds behind leader DJ Alessandrini. Here they are on the tri-oval, and here's where DJ is about to re-enter the oval section in that Lizard Brains podcast number 42. If you're not familiar with the Lizard Brains podcast, he goes on with Tom O'Gorman on all the major podcast platforms and talks all things grassroots racing, autocross, and a lot of the psychology of being behind the wheel as well, which is always an interesting listen. But 4-second advantage over Austin Cobbin, just about to get into some traffic as well, which and he's letting off and trying to time this just right. But if he doesn't, Cobb's going to close in and have a run at him here.
Yeah, Alessandrini has to slow up a little bit into the chicane to get past some traffic there. He's going to go by a couple of GT4 cars. That is the 38 who are just looking at Gene Schroeder, Matt Busby, and Will Salisbury just up ahead too.
Yeah, so Cobb gained a couple tenths of a second, but when DJ's got such a big gap, he's able to pick and choose where he wants to catch those cars, which that's advantageous if you're... we've seen DJ get into tight spots before when he's forced to make passes on multi-class traffic that he doesn't want to make because he's got to get it done or risk getting past. That's when you get a driver in desperation mode and you can find him in trouble, but I don't think he's there yet. 10 minutes, 3 seconds of a gap, and he's in a pretty good spot. Here's Iriardi and Lathrop here for 7th.
I was going to say, I'm curious when he's going to get to this train of cars. There's going to be quite a bit of traffic to work through as Iriardi goes pretty wide as Lathrop is on through to 7th.
On board with Zach Rubin, another driver that is running exactly where he started after 20 minutes of racing and has 4 positions right out the windshield. I mean, you'd rather be here than behind yourself, but...
Right. And like you mentioned, he's got 4 positions just up ahead of him here in these closing minutes of the race. We're in the final third. Under 10 minutes left to go here at Daytona, and Ruben, we're watching on board with him, trying to see maybe when he wants to get on by.
That Porsche's not the strongest in a straight line, though, so we'll need maybe
he does look like some
assistance.
decent front-end damage.
Well, that's absolutely not helping.
That's probably reducing his radio stream, but you are right, it is not the fact. It is one of the slower cars, actually, in a straight line, but it really makes up for in the turns.
And Porsche has addressed that with their new Porsche Cayman 718 GT4 Club Sport RS. That's a mouthful, but this is the Club Sport MR, which is the previous generation car, which is still valid for homologation, but they do have a newer version of that car, which was had to be BOP'd down quite a bit. It was a pretty dominant car when it was launched. Here's battle for the GT4 lead again, Lanning and Montello into turn 1.
Still not done. Montello still trying to see if he can get on by. Couldn't quite get there. He's at straightaway speed of the McLaren. Oh, but Lanning really sideways and off kilter. Here comes Montello as Lanning goes defensive. Montello going to look to the outside.
And Muhammad right here to pick up the scraps to the inside of the McLaren. And they're both going to slow each other down. That'll give Lanning a chance to sprint away again.
And Montello will be able to just stay ahead of Muhammad, at least to secure that second spot. Last couple tenths of Lanning with his battle heating up and a spin. Oh, that was Ruben who we're just looking at.
And Ruben goes for a loop. And I was just about to point out that second pack from Chris Murray on back is, packed in like brown sugar in the measuring cup there. They're smashed in there about as much as you could want. Kevin Zhu back on Richard Sawicki here. Kevin had a spin earlier, did he not? He was battling with Waxman.
Yeah, he was battling Waxman. Oh, wait, no, yeah, we covered his spin earlier.
Yeah, it was lap 7, which is about 5 or 6 laps ago.
So we did cover that, but he's coming back up and now has a chance to get back inside the top 5. He can get past Sawicki.
Thought he might lunge down the inside here at the horseshoe, but widens out the entry. This corner doesn't lend itself to a late apex all that well because it just goes on for so long. You're better off just tucking it in. I make that mistake every time. In a prototype in particular.
Yeah, with the prototypes, especially the GTPs, you can get away with it because things have so much kick now out of the corners. But for these GT machineries, you definitely need to run a little bit closer to the apex, keep it tidy, and then especially coming back onto the oval here, as Kevin Zhu, I think, was trying to see if he can get a slipstream, maybe make a pass before the bus stop chicane. As you look at Lanning and Montello for the lead in GT4. Montello going to try to work around the outside. Can he outbrake that 31? I don't think he can.
Oh, this is great stuff down here into the first corner, and Muhammad right there had to wait on Montello and kind of bobbled on exit there as well. Christopher Murray and Iriardi trading spots. This is great stuff here in the GT4 class in particular. We didn't get a chance to pick up the previous season, which was all GT4 racing, and everyone wanted it back so much we've elected to go multi-class, and clearly they have not gotten their fill.
Oh, they definitely haven't, because we've seen some great action, some of the best action really tonight in this class, because there's just so many cars of guys with a very high skill level. As we look here side by side for fifth, Sawicki and Zoo. Zoo on the outside, Sawicki on the inside. Zoo trying to see if he can outbreak the 528. He will do so.
Yeah, Sawicki locked up the left front down there as well. Turn one's so flat, you're turning it at an angle. It's really hard to get that thing stopped. Austin Minnick and Alex Artea, they've gone back and forth a couple of times. I think Artea, he has some damage. He's slow, it seems like.
Yeah, I was going to say he's losing speed in a straight line. I can't see any damage.
Doesn't appear outwardly, but it seems that it might. Can't really damage the underbody of the car here either. The curbs aren't tall enough to do that.
Yeah, that was my next guess, because I don't, if you don't see any damage up top, maybe underbody, but like you said, there's not much you can really hit underbody. It's not like we were just at right before with the Roval, the Charlotte Roval, that you can hit those curbs.
The Charlotte Roval wrecks your underbody if you're looking at the curbs, and here you got it. You can straddle them and put a bouncy castle on them, it'll stay inflated.
I mean, well, remember the bus stop, it used to, I think last year, I'm not sure if it was last year, the year before, they had the anti-cut curbs in the bus stop. That caught a lot of people off.
They still have them on the NASCAR configuration.
And they should only keep them there and not bring them onto this configuration. I hated those curbs.
Anthony Montello using the McLaren's top end. Close in on
Muhammad, getting close in behind in the rear wing. He closed up a lot of the braking zone. He's still very much in this battle. Things go south between Lanning and Montello.
And all the while, DJ Alessandrini has lost some ground to Austin Cobb, I think partially because they just navigated through a bunch of traffic, but now Cobb has to catch it in the worst area possible. This is Chicago rush hour traffic, and there's no highway express lane here. This is all weaving and wobbling through this pack here.
Especially because they're also battling harder, too, because they only got 5 minutes left on the clock, so they're not going to be really too willing to let the leaders go on by. They're not going to peel on over. Cobb's going to have to pick him up and put him down where he can.
And that's not, conducive to making time here. He was closing in about a second and a half, and he's lost all that time plus some now by the time he's going to leave this pack. Franz Hansen and Kevin Zhu, remember they were fighting earlier. Kevin was as high as third in this race, and he might get back there, or at least back to Franz in fourth.
Yeah, Franz lost a lot of time in turn one, just getting caught up in traffic, so Zhu's now been able to catch back up, and Zhu can effectively get back to work. He was effectively running when he was battling with Ito Waxman, so all things considered looking pretty good for the 24.
Oh boy, GT4 is wild again into the bus stop, Lanning, and then side by side, Muhammad and Montello, and they did sort it out and give Muhammad second place here.
And we'll see now Montello in third in line will be getting almost double slipstream from both the 31 and the 2. And again, combined with that McLaren straight line advantage, we'll see what he can do if he can muster up enough speed to make a move.
I think Muhammad's going to have plenty of speed to make a lunge here. That'll open the door for Montello. 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go. Montello's going to choose to sit behind these two. They touch side by side, banging doors into turn one here at Daytona.
I mean, typically, again, that's reserved for the stock cars, not really GT4 machinery. But Lanning will continue that lead off into turn one. Muhammad back to second. And Montello's going to have to settle for third in line. As he got DJ Alessandrini, the overall race leader, coming on through.
Oh, not convenient timing for anybody here, especially not for Anthony Montello. He will lose some ground here in a pretty critical area in the middle of the infield. By the way, Franz Hansen and Kevin Zhu side by side across the stripe here in the 992 category.
Yeah, that traffic really did not help Franz Hansen. And whoa, Kevin Zhu is going to go looping around again in turn one.
And he's going to lose a spot here to Sawicki, slams into him in the turn. And they're both going to lose ground now.
Oh, that was a decent hit. I think he almost got him in the right rear, if not very close to it. But Zhu will get back around and put back in 8. That's really unfortunate.
That's frustrating after all that time he spent digging himself out of the hole just to throw the shovel in at the end and move all over. So we should be coming to the white flag next time by. And when is that going to be? It's, where's DJ? Entering the back straightaway here. So the time is running thin. Third place, or sorry, GT4 is about, first through third is about to get very interesting.
Really is starting to heat up. Montello actually taking a little bit more conservative through the chicane. Muhammad all over the back of Lanning, though.
He should be able to build a pretty sizable run. 3/10 back is too far to close by the time they get to the start-finish stand, but plays this right. Time is coming down. He should be there by turn 1. Hello, Austin Cobb, as he goes by on the outside.
Indeed, flagman waving the white flag in the air. 1 lap to go for DJ Alessandrini and the GT4 leaders.
This is where the spice is going to be here. Muhammad didn't close all that much, but lap traffic to contend with as well. Not good timing from Muhammad. He had to shallow up the entry slightly. And into the infield.
Into the infield will go for the final time. Lanning just trying to see if he can get through. But what's really going to be mission critical is for him just getting a decent exit back onto the oval section, because he's effectively a sitting duck there with Muhammad and Mattel in behind.
And Rick Valdez, we haven't talked about him all night, but he just had a loop re-entering the oval. Here's Carlisle and Mukherjee battling for 7th, a bit deeper in the GT4 field. Now leaving the infield section, Asmath's got to set himself up. And then the games start. When you hit that bus stop, if you're Andrew Lanning, you're going to try to slow up the exit for Asmath, or you're going to just try to nail it and drive away, but that's hard.
I was just looking at Anthony Mattel. He ran way wide on the exit, just trying to carry some momentum. I think that might have cost him a little bit going so wide.
See how it pans out. Alessandrini will make his way through the Le Mans chicane for the final time. He is through cleanly, but the battle shifts the focus to Lanning, Montello, and Muhammad. Muhammad in the middle of this 3-horse race for first place in GT4.
Well, I think Lanning tried to back it up, but I think it might have been a little bit too much. Muhammad got a really decent exit, and here he comes. It's going to be a drag race to the line.
It's too early, though. I think if he gets alongside Lanning, Montello's still going to have enough of a run, especially with them not drafting anymore. Montello's a long ways back, but Lanning and Muhammad side by side through the last corner. Alessandrini wins the Porsche Cup class. GT4 is going to come down to the wire. Side by side to the stripe. Asmath Muhammad gets turned off the nose of Lanning. Across the stripe, he still wins it by a nose.
Woo.
Wow.
That was very close between these guys. I can't even tell how close it was because they're both listed as a lap down.
Mukherjee, Lathrop for 8th. Mukherjee's got it.
21,000 of a second between Muhammad and Lanning for a winner in GT4. And here's another close battle at the line.
Logan Madron and Michael Montello. Oh, sorry, that was Koback. Nope, that was Michael Montello. Logan and Michael. And Andy Vogel, Will Salisbury.
Yeah, both of them are going to be a little bit frustrated because Vogel started in 7th, finishing 17th. Will Salisbury started 4th, going to be finishing back in 17th or 18th.
Here was this battle of the stripe again between Asmath, who played this to perfection, and Lanning chased him over a little bit too far, and that is your margin of victory. That is unbelievable here. Look at that.
Yeah, 21 thousandths of a second.
Where's my, I don't have a photo finish cam here, do I?
I
do on the oval.
I don't think so.
But
well, typically there aren't a whole lot of photo finishes here, so that's why I didn't include one.
Well, that was
in my defense.
Yeah, defense taken. But let's have a look at our race results here and run things down. That was fun. I like Daytona. I like the GT4 cars in particular. I've always liked the way they race, but we got a special treat there, I think.
And you can tell by the gaps, too. There's one driver in particular that likes these cars. That's PJ Alessandrini, your race winner. Austin Cobby tried to keep up with him for a majority of the race and kept it pretty close, 4 seconds in behind. Wasn't enough. Then you got Ido Waxman, Franz Hansen, Richard Thewicki, Jay DeVries, Ryan Christoph, Kevin Zhu, Austin Minnick, and Jonathan Crane, your top 10 in Porsche Cup.
And looking down the rest of the front runners in the Porsche category, and then down to GT4, Asmath Muhammad, Andrew Lanning. That margin of victory, 21 thousandths of a second between those two, and it was 97 thousandths between Muhammad and Montello in 3rd. Then Darian Taggart snags a 4th in a Porsche. Raul Iriardi, 5th place after starting on pole. Chris Murray, Ryan Carlisle, the first of the BMWs, in 7th. Ryan Mukherjee down in 8th. In another Mercedes, and no Astons here in the top 20 in the GT4 category.
Yeah, there are only, I think, 2, and those 2 drivers did not have a particularly good race, so they're finishing down the orbit. A couple more Mercedes there: Lathrop, Burke, Kovac, Maturin, Montello, Lupfer, Sirota, Vogel, Salisbury, and Busby, the rest of the top No, it's just 9th through 18th in GT4.
Yeah, there's Roger Romero and Chandler Rowe in the 2 Astons that you pointed out. It's actually surprising we had less Astons than BMWs. Didn't have that on my bingo card. But there's a look at that. Zach Rubin down there disappointingly in 28th. Kevin Wendt, Thomas Moss, Pendergrass, and Philip Ju rounding out the rest of your running order. Well, we don't have a ton of people waiting around to chat. We do have Andrew Lanning, though, who finished in 2nd. Let's see if we've got him. Hey, Andrew, you got a copy?
I do. How are you?
We are doing well, and we just had a very fun time calling that race between you, Asmath, and Anthony there. Really, the entire race in GT4 was incredibly close. Take us through that battle and swapping positions here at Daytona in GT4. That was fun to watch.
Yeah, Asmath and Anthony were doing a great job. I managed to just barely catch the draft after some side-to-side contact there in T1 a handful of times early race, and managed to just catch enough to pull up to them, and had an opportunistic move around the outside where I nabbed both of them on the straight, and there at the end, I thought I had it nabbed. I had a really bad exit out of the bus stop, and then tried to catch a side draft off Asmuth and wound up pushing him across the lines. But otherwise, yeah, wonderful race.
It was a lot of fun and interesting. I mean, there was so much request to bring these GT4 cars back for another season, and clearly the field counts show that. But looking forward to the rest of the season, we visit some pretty diverse tracks on this calendar. Did you learn anything tonight that you can apply as far as car choice, or are you pretty solidified in that Mercedes being your tool?
I don't know that I'm solidified in the Mercedes. I saw how it worked during the IMPC stuff and the Roar, and figured I'd try my hand at it. It's not my car choice. I typically am a BMW guy. So yeah, we'll see. Probably go back to the BMW for anything that doesn't have any long straights on it. So.
All right, well, we'll take that. Andrew, congratulations. Solid 2nd place, even though it didn't quite finish out the way you were hoping. P2, not a bad way to start the season.
Not bad at all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anthony Montello will join us now. He came up just shy, ended up in 3rd in this one in the leading McLaren. Anthony, take us through your battles there with Asmath and Andrew. It got pretty spicy there at the tail end with you trying to set up that run to the finish.
Yeah, it was a good time. I tried my best to get a good run through the bus stop on the last one, but messed it up instead, and then I saw them touching there at the end and thought maybe I'd be able to sneak by, but didn't get so lucky. Super fun race though, super clean driving between Andrew and Asmath. That was awesome. It was a great time.
Super fun, and we were just talking to Andrew about this GT4 class being a popular choice. Why this over the Porsche Cup car?
I wanted to be able to make it all 30 minutes without destroying my race or someone else's race, because it's a bit tough to drive consistently. Whereas this, I'm comfortable, it's fun, produces good racing, so it seemed like the obvious choice.
Well, 3rd place for the 268. Anthony, congratulations, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, Tip. I'll be there.
All right, and I don't think we'll have Asmath tonight, but Finian, what a race. That was exciting. I'm excited for more of this as we look ahead to the rest of the calendar. We've got upcoming Aragon next week, followed by Okayama, Mugello, Nürburgring, Zandvoort, and Road America. So some really good international tracks. And actually, I forgot, we've got a couple of our Porsche Cup drivers that'll join us. DJ Alessandrini is one of them. Almost forgot about you, DJ, because you were so far out front in your own category. Austin gave you a bit of a run for your money, but he wasn't able to catch you back.
Yeah, Austin's still coming to terms with the car, so I expect him to just gain pace as the season goes on. So, yeah, Daytona, it's a good practice. Honestly, the P-Cup's good practice for all the cars, because if you could drive a Porsche Cup around here, you can drive anything.
Well, we made that note because there was a lot of drivers that we saw spinning, leaving the horseshoes and things, just lighting up the rear tires. I think learning that right foot control kind of happens in quite the baptism here. But, it seemed like you had things well under control. We saw just a little bit of traffic. How does that reconcile with, the next couple of rounds? We're going to head to Aragon and Okayama. And, this is a big track, but some of those tracks are a little smaller. So how do you think that's going to affect the season?
Yeah, the cars break about the same, but the Porsche Cups get a way better exit. So I think, hopefully, just for the sake of both classes, I hope the Porsche Cups realize that stuffing it on the inside of a GT4 is hurting both of their races. I just tried to focus on good exits every single time I came across traffic, and that seemed to work out compared to whatever Austin was doing behind me. Because in the traffic, it seemed like I was getting a little bit better of a shake. Daytona's weird too, because if you pass a bunch of people in the straightaway and then they get them in the infield, you have a huge advantage. So I'm curious how it'll work out in Aragon. I don't know how that track will treat traffic, but the track's very fun to lap. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know how the traffic will be.
Well, Lizard Brain aced this test. 42 wins it. Alessandrini up top. DJ, congratulations. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And let's talk to Ido Waxman here before we head out. Ido Waxman finished this race in third. Not quite at the top step like you were in Street GT this past season, Ido, but good battles there all tonight, but ended up kind of in no man's land there towards the end. Take us through your evening.
Yeah, really, I was just making sure I wasn't running into anybody most of the race, if I'll be honest. I don't have that much time in these Porsche Cups, so the braking is really, really tricky. So I just made sure I kept it as clean as possible and try to maintain a decent pace without risking it too much.
And one of the things we asked DJ was how the traffic is going to be a concern as we head to the next couple rounds on the calendar. You know, these are fairly short races. You're not going to have to lap traffic multiple times, but you're catching them towards the end of the race. How is that going to affect things heading forward? And is that a strength of yours, is carving through traffic?
I think I'm fairly good at the wheel-to-wheel and traffic part. I feel fairly confident in that. I'm not super familiar with all the tracks on this calendar. I've never driven at Aragon, but Okayama I think is going to be probably pretty tricky. Nürburgring is of course going to be tricky, although not sure if we'll lap people in the Nürburgring. Kind of depends on how long it is.
You hope not.
And then Zandvoort's going to be really hard. That's a pretty narrow track. I guess we'll see. This is definitely one of the easier ones to do it at, so we'll see how that goes the rest of the season.
Ido, congratulations. Podium in the Porsche Cup. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
And Austin Cobb comes home in second. You had one good shot at DJ there, Austin, but then things didn't quite pan out, and the traffic definitely didn't work in your favor. We saw that a couple of times in the infield, but P2's not a bad way to kick things off.
Yeah, man, I'll take a P2. I hadn't been driving the 992 Cup in a hot minute, so I was a little iffy on the brakes. Sometimes it felt hooked up, sometimes it felt slicker than a pocket full of pudding. So I was just taking what I could get and rolling with it, man. I took a couple of shots at DJ, and then almost drove myself off the track at West Horseshoe, and that was the end of the fight. But, we'll bring them hell next week.
All right, Austin. Hey, thanks so much, and we'll see you next week at Aragon.
Hell yeah, brother.
We'll see you there. All right, that will wrap things up here from the GRIDLIFE iRacers Sports Car Championship. Oh, boy, Finian, I like the way things are going here based on what we saw tonight. This is going to be a fun championship to follow.
Well, absolutely. These guys really put on a fantastic show all night long. That was a lot of action for 30 minutes, and if you are entertaining, I really don't know what to tell you. These guys put on some fantastic racing. Really looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, we'll see you next week from Motorland Aragon. That'll be a fun one. The outer course. It is fast. If you've never seen this racetrack, you'll see it here on twitch.tv/GridLifeOfficial and on SimTV on YouTube. Thanks so much, everybody. Kyle Heyer with Finney and DeCuna. We'll see you next week.